Hello everybody and welcome to this video where I've gone through some more Minecraft mobs and made them into D&D stat blocks. If you haven't seen my first video, which was some of the more classic mobs such as zombies, skeletons, creepers and all of those things, then I'd suggest you go check that out on my channel, because today we are going for a bit more off the kilter ones. Starting with probably the reason you clicked on this video, as it will probably be the most prominent thing in the thumbnail and in the title, the Enderdragon. So I took inspiration for this from all the other dragons that you can find in D&D, which means it was quite a easy stat block to start with. So it's got some decent stats, as you can see here, flying speed and some decent skills. It has a lot of proficiency in saving throws, as you'd expect. It also gets the regular legendary resistances. Things where it becomes interesting, however, is the fact that it gets flyby. Now, this is something that I thought long and hard about whether it would overbalance it. However, I think considering it only gets one attack per turn, the ability to give it flyby kind of fits with the whole vibe of the Enderdragon, swooping down, hitting and flying away. Obviously, this means the party could hold an action to attack it if it gets too close or stuff like that, so they are able to kind of make an attack, but it does kind of limit both sides of this fight and means range users are able to get a much better attack. There is also the ability to shoot a fireball, which is the lingering kind of effect. This is wounded, like a sword of wounding, and this gives the ability to just kind of deal a little bit more damage using legendary actions. It also can heal using a legendary action, which gives it the ability to kind of use those pillars that are around the end, and if you have it in the end, or in its layer at least, then it has the ability to bring up some endermen to kind of just make the terrain a bit more difficult. These won't attack the party straight away, but they do give an obstacle that the party have to avoid looking at. It's up to you how you do this. I know a lot of people like to use kind of wisdom saves or wisdom checks to make sure you're just not accidentally glancing at these things, which would then attack. But I think that would be a really nice way of creating an interesting fight. I do think that this balance could be interesting. I've not actually played with it myself, so if you do get a chance to play with this, let me know, and let me know if you change anything, obviously in the comments below. I'm always open to new changes. So that was the first one. We have got another big boss coming towards the end, which may also be included in the title, but I'm going to leave that for a little bit to move on to another Ender thing. The Ender Man has already been created on my channel, but the other Ender thing that we're interested in is the Ender Mite. Now, this thing is a tiny beast that has the ability to spawn on the party whenever they use any kind of teleportation. So the idea being is that if a party teleports, you roll a d20, on a 1, one of these things spawns. Now, whether or not you want to make that a bit more challenging by, say, making it so that 2 or 4 of these things spawn, because that makes it a little bit more tricky, and can also give a deterrent for possible kind of teleportation. I did think that they needed to be relatively weak though, given that in Minecraft you can kind of get rid of them with one swing. So they have a small bite attack, which does a little bit of force damage as well, but overall it's nothing too tough to deal with. I've also added in this swarming rule idea, where if 8 of them end up on the same spot, they can become a swarm, which are a little bit more difficult to deal with, deal some damage and can kind of have a bit more kind of health. All of their health will get pulled together and it kind of becomes this bigger, more threatening thing to deal with. The other thing that I decided to make this video, which is very, very similar to the Endermite, is the silverfish. Now, this is again very small, does sensible amounts of damage for what it is. However, you have this thing with the silverfish in that their eggs are indistinguishable from stone. And so I introduced this idea that if you are realizing that you're around these silverfish eggs, the only way to tell if a rock is not a silverfish or not is to do a DC 18 sleight of hand check. And if you're managing to do that and successfully do that, you work out, oh, that's an egg or that's a rock. Otherwise, the egg breaks, the silverfish is released, and it starts attacking you. Of course, we all know the annoyance that can happen when a silverfish finds more of its eggs, and it just starts to munch into them and release more and more silverfish. Well, that can happen here too, and if this happens, you can start to have them cascading and growing, because obviously these things can do this as a bonus action and then attack you as well. The thing you have to be extra careful about, though, is if these guys spawn. If these guys spawn, then they can obviously do more bite attacks, but they can also then go for almost 4 amounts of eggs and just start biting everything all over the place, and more of them appear. You have to be careful to get rid of these guys before they start to actually kind of spread, because otherwise you are a goner. So those are the little things out the way. Let us move on to the bigger things. This one is a bit of an interesting one. It's the Phantom. This is kind of one of those mobs that you don't encounter very often if you actually sleep, or, like I do, spend most of my time underground when I play Minecraft. These are the things that if you haven't slept for long enough, it will start to swoop down and attack you. Therefore, I did give it kind of flyby and a bite attack, just to give it some kind of genuine threat levels. But if you have any kind of ranged abilities, then its AC and its HP aren't too high. Maybe it's smart to spawn like 2 or 3 of these guys on the party if they've not slept for a while. But obviously most D&D parties need to long rest for all their other abilities, so it may be worth introducing these as a different kind of threat. After Phantoms, we have got Shulkers now. These things are quite interesting, so I can't think of anything else in D&D, do correct me if I'm wrong, that makes you levitate in the way that these Shulker boxes do. So I've introduced this levitation ray, which kind of is a low chance to hit, but if it does hit, it deals some damage and the creature can start to float if they fail a DC con save. And therefore, if they rise 10 foot per round, the creature repeats the saving throw each turn as they get higher and higher, and when they eventually succeed, they fall. They fall the entire distance that they were raised, so therefore that could put them in a really tough situation where they are starting to think, I am 60 foot, 70 foot, I'm going to take 76 bludgeoning damage when I fall here, this could be a problem. So that's the Shulker. It's worth mentioning I've also included this box of holding idea, which is kind of, it's a bag of holding, but it's a box. I've also put like a maximum of £100. The idea being is that these things are not to be carried around really. They're just kind of be to put somewhere. They're useful containers, and yeah, that's about it. The next thing we have is the one that probably everyone's been waiting for. I will say there is one more after this, but I would say that this is the interesting one. This is the Warden. Now, this has got pretty decent stats. I don't think it's quite as strong as the Enderdragon in terms of its ability to swoop in, take you out, and also the healing part of it. But it is quite scary in the fact that it's got high AC, high HP, and it has the ability to kind of sense any kind of movement. If you were to bring this in with some kind of sensor like the Shulker sensors, you would be in a really interesting kind of dungeon where you wouldn't end up needing to act in the same way you normally would. It has got both its slam ability, which is the melee, and its sonic boom ability, which is ranged. It gives you that abilities. It also has legendary resistances, and it also has legendary actions, so it can slam, but it also can detect others by smelling the air and locking in on its targets. Overall, I think this is quite an interesting beast. It does also have the immunity to fire, which the Warden does, and I've given it keen smell, so it gets advantage on any perception checks for smell, which includes the detect others ability that it has in its legendary actions. So that's the Warden. Let me know if you'd make any changes there, or if you think I've missed anything. I'm always happy to kind of hear from you guys, and as I say, I'm not stating I'm the ultimate knowledge on all things Minecraft or all things D&D. I'm just making these for fun. And finally, the final one in this video is the Iron Golem, the protector of every single Testificate village. I've added in a couple of things here where some Testificates can get together and kind of scheme and create an Iron Golem out of nothing. I also said that the party could make one if they had enough iron. It also can be healed with this iron, and it also has the ability to tell if any of the villagers that made it are being attacked. And it gives that kind of ability to lock in and makes it a bit of a threat if a party wants to kind of ransack a village. The only thing to mention as well is it does have the slam ability, where it has got a bit of a DC to push people up in the air to make them deal more damage to them as well by falling. And so there we have it. We've got some lovely Minecraft creatures for you to add to your D&D campaign, or to kind of manipulate slightly, change the flavouring, make them your own. But whatever, I am not the judge of what you do in your own D&D campaigns. I hope you have enjoyed this, and I hope you can use some of this. If you have, please do leave a like and a subscribe, it means the world. And if you do subscribe, you'll get to see next week's video, which I believe will be on Five Nights at Freddy's characters. So if you like that, or you have any ideas for that, please do let me know. As for me, I'm going to go back to my homebrewing, and I hope to see you guys soon. Ta-ra.